Welcome to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, where inspiration meets action. This is your spot to grow, level up, and lead with fresh ideas. From sales to service, from frontline teams to executives, we're dropping weekly knowledge and insight to keep your store sharp, relevant, and profitable. Let's get into it. Welcome back, listeners, to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki podcast. We're in season 28 right now, and I'm super pumped to introduce you to two guys. I can't wait for this conversation because this is really about mindset. This is about leadership. This is about making bold decisions in business. And we have first my friend, my colleague, long-term client. His name is Inder Dosanjh. Everybody knows him. By the way, everybody knows you. You know, anytime, yeah, I swear to God, everybody knows you.
Oh my God. Is that a good or bad?
Well, it sometimes could be both.
Yes.
But we'll talk more later. No, I'm only kidding. You know, the thing is I'm so proud to know you. I want you to know that. So for our listeners, Inder is from the same hometown as me. And I'm oftentimes embarrassed to even say where I was born and raised because...
That's from California.
Don't tell people. Why did you do that? I always say the Bay Area. Hello. It's the armpit of California. But anyway, Inder actually is from my hometown. And, you know, he started off as a technician, even in a current client of mine's dealership. And I've just watched, I think I've known you for over 15 years. I've worked in your stores and
longer 23
longer?
years, Jennifer.
I think you need to calm down on the actual numbers. I think let's go with 15. Okay, why are you trying to age me or something? Okay, yeah, I know, guys, they never age. Okay. But what I want to say is I've watched you acquire. I've worked with all of your general managers, all of your leadership, and I am always impressed, and I'm so proud to know you. And so whenever I get a chance to say, somebody say, "Oh, yeah, we have stores in California," I'll say, "Do you know Inder?" Everybody knows Inder.
Oh, thank you.
You've made a great name for yourself, and introduced me to Randy Parker, CEO of Hyundai, and I've had him on my podcast twice now, and I've been very proud to get to know Randy thanks to you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have someone that's new, but really is a co-founder, a partner with Inder, new to my circle, Munish. Of course, I'm going to butcher your last name.
Mahajan.
Dang it, I knew it.
You got one right. You got the first name right.
Well, yeah, you can't always win. But, you know, I was so glad that you could join this today because, again, I look at you and I've seen your background in tech and just an extraordinary background. You guys should look them up on LinkedIn. And that's really how I got to know you. And I see that you've had a lot of opportunity to transform organizations through reshaping, you know, their technology and their management, their processes. And now I'm working with your team and the biggest call center on the planet, the most amazing team I've actually ever worked with. And you're helping dealers do some of the things that are their biggest challenges, and that's set appointments and get people to come into the showroom. And I'm constantly saying, flood the showroom. And you've built this epicenter of a building, of a place, of a team. How many people do you have on your team now?
So we are currently about 300 people. We are 4 months into operations. 300. I think by the end of the year, we'll definitely cross 500.
Okay, scaling very fast. So, you know, so now you're founder, you're CEO, you're president of this large organization. So I do want to dial into this conversation more on sharing with us about some of the crossroads that every leader is going to face. And, you know, it's easy to take easy roads out, and nothing's easy in the car business. But really truly embracing growth and transformation, the uncertainty and the risk that's involved in being a high performer, which I see both of you as. This isn't really just all about business. I want to talk a little blueprint today for anyone that's listening out there, and that's really trying to stay in that safe mode that's trying to challenge themselves to that very next level. So thank you guys so much for joining.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay, well, tell me. Okay, so I mentioned a little about Inder and his early beginnings, and now 17 dealerships, right?
Yes.
17. Oh, that's just outstanding. Well, take us back a little bit. So what's the moment that you realize that this isn't just a job, but this is a path to building something much bigger? What kind of a mindset shift? What's going on in your mind that's got you moving beyond the day-to-day work to seeing yourself as a business owner?
Well, to start with, we're really blessed. We have a different model in our organization. We have most of our general managers are partners, and we have a
Yes.
pretty good system set up where we support them a lot, but we let them run individually. A lot of my GM, Admir and Mo,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
their personalities goes all the way through, and they're the face of our dealership. They're the face in our community, and they're the face with our employees, right? So I was actually kind of bored, right? And go to work, and what do I do? They're like, and these guys are doing better job. They're running the dealerships better than I ever ran.
Mm-hmm.
So, what the challenges are, the margins are shrinking. It's so hard to find people, right? The training process is tough. Like you want to train sales staff, and I'll give you an example. We had one of the young salesperson we hired here, and he happened to be one of my friend's son, right? So
Okay.
he's calling his customers back after the car sold. And one of the really senior salesperson told him, "You really do that? You're gonna make us look bad," right?
Mm.
The kid comes and tells me, he goes, "That's what they're telling me." And what really goes on a floor, how the salespeople follow up, we think we sit in these offices, we think what we think what's going on out there is not
Mm-hmm.
what's going on out there, right? Okay. And you get these leads, our closing ratios 5, 6, 7%. We really have 95% people that don't want to buy cars. We really have like 90% people walk on the lot that don't want to buy cars, right? I think to start off from follow-up, from the training. So we want to come up with a system. I've been talking to my employees how we do this. Then also the cost cutting, the just cost, the back office cost, the warranty processing, and plus employees are so hard to find these days, right? So we had a lot of meetings. So when we ran into Munish at one of the events, I asked him, "What do you do?" He goes, "We do. Uh, we take the big corporation and the businesses. We shift a lot of their back office and call centers, to offshore or onshore, or we automate them, use AI, digital, right?" So
Mm-hmm.
we start thinking. So that's how we got started on this thing. There were a lot of dots there. Somebody had to connect them. So we're trying to connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It gives us one angle into your thinking and your decision making. I see that you have found a hole in your organization,
Mhm.
and the GMs, it's nice to hear you praise them. I know they all work really hard, and there's so many challenges. Working in the
Yes.
car business is not easy.
Yes. It's not
And
easy.
no,
It's
and these
not
guys have been with you forever.
forever,
Yeah.
ever. They were my salespeople, right? I
Mm.
mean, like Cash, right? He was 18 years old when he came to work. Now he got 3 kids, right? And he's 40 years old, right? So they have spent their lives with me, right? So
Absolutely.
mhm.
And I've always admired that. So, I imagine, Munish, when you meet Inder, and you don't know his full story background, the growth, the people that make up the face of his organization, as he mentioned. What's it like for you to think about switching careers? I mean, you don't know what you're getting into. Everything's a risk. You meet this guy at a conference, and he probably he's a closer, this guy. I know him. and what you've been with this company for like a decade. What makes you pull the trigger and say, all right, let me make this jump?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what happened, by the way. I think Inder is a great salesman, first of all. I can tell you that.
Oh my God.
Oh, I
He,
know.
he starts somewhere else and then he finishes somewhere else without you even realizing it. So he's very strategic in every conversation that he has. But I'll tell you this, when I met him, I think there were 2, 3 questions I think that needed to be answered. As far as I'm concerned, I think I saw an opportunity, like in my previous company, everywhere, wherever I have worked, we create an impact for a client. So we would have an insurance company, a bank, healthcare company, we would transform their operations. It feels good to create an impact to a client. But when I met with Inder and we started talking about the auto retail industry, I realized there was an opportunity to create an impact in an entire industry. So the entire industry actually was deprived of all the different levers that everybody else was successfully leveraging. And then I realized that the problems that we were trying to solve using data, AI, global talent, they were not isolated just to a few dealerships. The entire industry actually needed help. So it became clear that there was a very big opportunity. The only question was, do I jump the ship? Do I really take on this bet? And I think I asked myself a question that what's the cost of not doing anything? I could stay still and just be where I am, very comfortable, very steady job. But I also realized that sometimes you can't really measure the impact without action. And I think true transformation only happens once you really make some bold moves. So after I realized that Inder not only he had his own business, but when Inder decided that he's actually going to step up as the co-founder and the chairman of the company, that was a defining moment for me. That's when I realized that, okay, this is serious. And having somebody like him at the helm, I think will make it a lot more practical, if you will. So that's when I decided to join the ship.
Yeah, because it's a team. And I think that when you're thinking about, look, you're in a career for 10 years, you're at the top of your game, everybody knows you, you've built your reputation, you got a great salary, you're good. It's very difficult for somebody to come in and say, hey, there's no guarantee, but I'm an expert in this field. I have these stores. I see these challenges and I'm willing to participate. Now, a lot of times the owners will get involved in investment in companies like this and they just throw it off and, you gotta sink or swim. You gotta figure it out on your own. And they'll be in the background supporting. But in every photo I see of your team and anything that looks important that your company's been working on, I'm actually impressed to see Inder's face on there every single time. And that is telling. So I hear what you're saying and I feel like that's what does make everything work. Because like I work in dealerships and I've worked on a lot of software. I see a lot of the problems. I'm front line and I've worked with the software to try and solve some of the biggest problems. And it's not an easy task all the times. And now you're talking about leveraging human people, into filling some of the roles of our biggest holes in the car dealership. This can be BDC. I'm sure you can reference some other key people, but in my experience in working with you, it's about helping the dealership manage those calls, make those calls, bring those customers in, bring those customers back. And when you have an owner that's involved every day in knowing what the problems are, knowing that you didn't come from the car business per se, it's a lot easier to make headway when that person's involved. So I feel what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to believe in your partner.
Yeah. Like Inder said, there were a lot of dots that had to be connected. So when we started talking, I said, look, data is very critical because a lot of dealerships have ton of data, but they are using very little data to make intelligent decisions. So they are like data rich, but insight poor. And they're using this old technology. They're using onshore expensive resources. So domain data and AI and technology and global talent, but the domain knowledge that comes only from him and the fact that he has his own stores.
Yes.
Leverage those. So all these dots needed to be connected. So I once told him, I think we were having a drink in Manila, that a lot of things had to come together. We were just meant to be. And this team combination, it just happens to be, I think, it's one of the most suitable combination that you could have to form something like Pinnacle.
Surely you can reflect back on some times here and you might even be in the heart of it right now. I think that when you're building something, first you've taken the leap. I mean, that's the scary part, making that jump. Not a lot of people can make that jump. Inder's made this jump. There's a moment in your career where you're like, you know what? F it. I'm going to do it. I'm all in. And not a lot of people can do that and walk away from comfort. So both of you guys have made this jump. And then you've realized...
But I'll tell you this, when I actually did it, so he was trying to convince me, you should do this and come join us. And finally I decided, and I called him in the evening. I said, I resigned. And he goes, I was just kidding. I used
That is so
oh,
something
my
Inder would
chair.
say.
He said, "Are you serious? I wasn't serious,
Such a
Munish."
ball buster.
No, it's been a fun ride since then. I can't believe it's only
Look,
been 4 months.
no, I just want to say that he's been with the company for how long, Manish?
So total about 18 years.
18 years, right? And when he started with the company, he was, I don't know how many people. I
Yeah,
think
there were very, very few people. We only had one center at that point in time, and today they have, like, I don't know, 20, 30 delivery centers. They're like 60,000, 2,000 people now.
Yeah.
At that point in time, we were really, really small.
Yeah, it took a lot of faith and a lot of courage, but issues that we knew exactly where we're going, what's going on. So it was uh, we had a game plan and faith. That's what it. No.
Well, I have to believe that you both bring different skill sets to the table. And I think if you apply it to dealership life, whether you're looking for a GM partner to bring into your family, or it's a GM that's looking for GSM or another manager to do some of the heavy lifting. We're trying to offset skills, so I'm good at this. I don't need somebody else that's really good at this. I need somebody else that's not good at this. I'm not, you know what I mean? And that's the perfect partnership, is to figure out, how you can work with each other and learn each other's skill sets and complement each other. And I think that's what we're trying to do in dealerships too, when we're hiring people. I think sometimes we just look for experience, or, we're trying to fill a void. But if we can find those who have skill sets in which not everyone is carrying, you collectively are making a championship team. Now, look at championship teams. They all have different head coaches. Not head coaches. They all have different coaches for different skills, right? That's what makes a great
Yes.
team.
Yep, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the diverse backgrounds that we have, the diverse experiences and the skills that we have, I think that combination, I think, is more powerful than our individual expertise that we bring. But when you combine it, I think it makes a great team.
Fireworks, yeah. I mean, that's the idea. And I think that when people are looking to take a jump, you are in fact looking to dial in to this right here. Does this team have the skill sets that complement each other? Is everybody all the same? Are we going to be able to challenge each other, grow together? And when things get bad, we're able to work through them in a way that's fair, reasonable. And listen, you're going to have crossroads. Everybody does. And I always frame it this way. When I think about, how do people make decisions? And this is what I want to hear from you guys. How do you make decisions? You get to like big decision making, and it's like, I call it door A and door B. And it's like you have two choices to make on this play, and you could go either way. And I always say it's the right choice either way, because if it ended up not working out, you'll circle back to that other choice and then you'll proceed. But sometimes people, when they have these, they have to pick one. It's hard to realize what to do, and you might have major decisions that you've both been up against, and maybe be willing to share a little about these moments that actually define a company. They define an organization. I'll give you a quick example. I have this client, many clients actually, they'll have many different initiatives throughout the year. One is when they have multi-dealerships, like 17, they'll create a collective accounting department, right? Centralize it. And that's a big initiative. It's the same for like a central BDC. That's a big initiative to pull people out of the stores and bring everybody together. And there's a lot of things like this. So maybe there's something you can share with us that have actually defined your business growth. And it might not have been an easy road, but it might have been an outcome that you thought it would be, maybe not. But you're trusting yourself, and you're thinking about this, even reflecting back now on some of the choices you made, which have now helped you in thinking about making core decisions very quickly. So tell me about, I don't know if this makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. And I'll start maybe,
Please, thank you.
So I'll tell you this. When you come together and when you have a rough idea, like we were very clear, like Inder said, we were very clear of the problem statement. We were very clear of the levers that we were going to pull. And it was essentially around data, AI, global talent, and domain. Mm-hmm. When we were starting, at that point in time, early on, we had to make a decision that do you implement technology first?
This is
Because
great.
everything is about technology, everything is about AI, everything is about data. Do you do that first and then you bring in the human, or do you bring in the human first and then you implement technology? So that is something that we were debating, because our philosophy was, when we look at the operations, we want to see what can be completely eliminated. The steps that you're following in the process that are no longer needed, they're redundant, don't add any value. Why are you even doing that? So just eliminate that completely.
Mhm.
Now you have another version of the process. In this process, what can you automate? Why do human needs to touch it? If it's all repeatable, if it's all predictable, let a bot do it. So you automate that. Now you're left with something that requires judgment. A human needs to look at it. Now, where do you find the best and the most reasonable talent? Well, we know companies that have scaled up in India, South Africa, Philippines, so on and so forth. So we say, okay, let's leverage global talent, like Philippines in this case. Let them handle some of these low-hanging, simple tasks, big volume tasks. Then you look at, now you are remained with certain tasks which are very white glove service, high transaction, high value. Those you want to keep onshore with your own teams. So that was the philosophy we started with. However, very quickly we realized that, look, if we try and build a product or a technology solution and give it to dealers for them to implement it, it's going to be very difficult, because technology is not the issue, it's the adoption of the technology that's the issue. So you give these products to different dealerships and you expect them to use it the way they should be using it. That's not going to happen. And they'll probably use it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and 6 months
Abandon.
they'll come back and they'll say, Pinnacle, it's not working for us. So we said, okay, fine, why don't we reverse it? Why don't we take on their operations first, and then it's our employees who are managing the operations? And now, if we infuse the technology with our own people, the adoption and the implementation is going to be much easier, because this is our employees. So now we went people first, and that's why we have scaled up so quickly. But in parallel, we are building these data assets and AI models that are completely going to transform this process. So we actually ended up lifting and shifting the operations, and now we are transforming those with our employees. So that entire change management has become very easy. So we started up with one thought, but where we ended up is completely different. And that happened because we were brainstorming, we were agile, we were quick.
For example, like let's say incoming calls, right? We take either the BDC or the people who answer the calls, cashiers or whatever, whoever answers the calls,
Whoever.
right? We transfer that to Philippines, right? So we're answering incoming calls with the humans, right? Okay. Not only we're making service appointments, we're also answering what happens if customer has a flat tire. They get the same answer. What happens if they have a check engine light come on? They get the same answer. Let's say customer has a check engine light comes on. He said, I want to get my car in like right now. And there's no appointment available. What's going to happen if customer calls the dealership, they'll get 10 different answers, right? Okay. Bring it in, don't bring it in. So then what we do is we tell them, look, I understand you're having a problem. Let me get you the first available appointment. So we go and make the first available appointment. Then we tell the customer, look, I got your appointment, bring your car in, and we're sure that we'll get to your car before the appointment, but at least I have booked your appointment. So now customer can come in, they can be comfortable that he has appointment, which might be for tomorrow or day after, but they bring the car in, they talk to a service writer, and service writers always try to accommodate them, right? That's number one. The other thing we did is, for example, the incoming calls. We're answering all the incoming calls manually. Now we have an AI. So when the customer calls in, says, "Hey, can I?" We give a choice. We can either make your service appointment with AI, or if you want to speak to a human, press 2, right? So once let's say they take the AI option, then AI says, "Look, I'm here to help you, but anytime you can speak to human, say operator." So the average call that we answer is less than 20 seconds, right? And so people are very comfortable. See what we did? We took the call center, we took all the calls out of the dealership, transfer them. Now, some of the calls we're answering with AI, and some of them we're answering, right? Because if you just have an AI system, that we had it, we tested it. The 60% of the customers are okay. you still have 40% people don't want to talk to AI.
Yes.
So, but if customer is comfortable that he can speak to AI and he can talk to a human being at any given time, if AI said, okay, this is Jennifer, your AI assistant, I'm gonna help you with your appointment, but just say operator anytime, and I'll get you a live person, right?
Mhm.
So think about it, right? So that's that. Now on the outgoing calls, we do service to sales to service handoff. We do service follow-up, 5 months, 7 months customers. Then we do customer recovery. If you haven't seen a customer in 18 months, 24 months, it's a different program. Then we have a CSI follow-up and service. Depends what you want. So what we do is like our agent we extract all the data. Then our agent is calling a customer. It's actually we dial the number. We don't do mass dialing because it goes
Mhm.
to spam. So we make sure the dealership name comes up, right?
Mhm.
As soon as the customer picks up the phone, we send them a text message and we send them an email.
Mhm.
So if customer picks up the phone, we tell them, hey, I'm sending you a text with the service specials and the link to our appointment, and please just uh, you use those coupons to when you bring the car in. If customer picks the call, then good. We talk to them, make a service appointment. And if they don't, they get a text message, email, and a voicemail. That's
Mhm.
pre-recorded voicemail from the dealership, right?
Mhm.
And so it's not a generic voicemail. It's from one of the like service manager's voice or somebody else's voice, right? So when you call the customer, only 10-15% of the customers are picking up the calls, right? But once they get the text message, email, and the voicemail,
You have a
then
better
your terminal
probability.
rate goes up to 40%.
Right.
So that's kind of stuff that we're doing with the BDC. That's the service BDC. Then
Mhm.
sales BDC, what you're training right now, is like it's totally different, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, and let me expand on that a little bit, like AI, for example, that you referenced. So yes, so what we are doing is we're trying to measure the success of AI versus the preference to talk to a human.
I really like this, by the way. I want to just pause you real quick because I've been dialed into this process for at least 5 years with the voice AI doing that particular call,
mhm,
the scheduling appointment. And I've watched a lot of people abandon this product. And I've watched a lot of reasons why it gets abandoned.
mhm.
And I have to believe that some of the customers just aren't ready for
No,
voice AI.
no,
I
no.
do think it's moving faster. The adoption rate is happening faster. We're moving there, probably in the next year or two. But over the last 5 years, we have not been there.
But
And
Jennifer, the
yeah,
certain customer will never adapt to AI.
yeah, that's probably true. That's
For
probably true.
40,
But
40% customer will never adapt.
it's becoming more familiar in our
Yes,
everyday.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's not alarming. But I have to just say that haven't seen anybody be that progressive where they offer both the options. And I think that's very powerful
Mhm,
because what happens is when the customer says, I want to talk to an operator. So
mhm.
if you don't have a set of staff that is literally waiting for that phone to ring, well, we all know what happens in the dealership. It goes, especially if they transfer it to service advisor, it goes straight to voicemail. And it impedes on that customer experience. And of course, I'm always just
So,
like, what the? It's just counterproductive.
certain customers are calling the dealership to make appointments, right? And the certain customers are calling talk to the service advisors. So what we do is, if customers calling to talk to a service writer, we let the phone ring at the service writer desk 4 times, no voicemail. After the fifth ring, it goes
Goes
to
back.
no, it goes
Sure.
to phone kids,
Instinct.
right? So 90% of the answers, because what we do is we take all these conversations,
Mm-hmm.
we transfer them into AI, right? The
Mm-hmm.
90% of those customers issues, the agents are able to look it up. They have a job aid as they're talking, flat tire, boom. What is the policy?
Sure.
Check engine light, what's the policy? There's a recall with GM L86 or L87, which you have to inspect the car. How do you handle that, right? So example, on the recalls, that's the biggest problem. Customer
Agreed.
calls in, I want to make an appointment. They come in, there's no parts, right?
Right.
So what we do is customer comes in and the customer calls up, say, I have a recall. We check which recall it has.
Mm-hmm.
First thing, if we can help them, there are a lot of recalls can be done downloaded on air. So our agent, when looks up in the global connect or we have
Mm-hmm.
sources, it says You can go into your dash and press this button, it'll complete the recall. Number one. Number two, the recall is coming in, we will download, we'll upgrade, they make appointment. Third one is if you require parts, we take the information, we check for the parts. If they have a part, then we bring the customer in. And if there's no remedy, then we tell the customer, there's no remedy available, right?
Right.
Okay. Here's the issue, Jennifer. If the customer, the 50, 60% of the phones don't get answered right.
I
Here's
do.
our challenge at the dealership. Okay.
Yes.
If we answer,
And the majority is for the service department where all the money's made.
yes, if we answer, this is what I tell my team. I said, if we answer 95% of the calls right, that's not good enough.
Agreed. You're always
Because-
leaving money on the table, and we don't like that.
Yeah, not just about money. If customer is not happy with, we have to answer.
No, exactly. You don't want to compromise a loyal customer.
Because dealership will say, service manager will say, they didn't answer. We'll answer 500 calls. One call is not answered right, because all our calls are recorded, right? Incoming calls, right?
Yeah.
And we know, so we can listen to them. Then also the dealership, what we do is, look, when customers talking, we have if the call is going sideways, the supervisor comes in, start to listen, right? Then supervisor can take over the call halfway through the call. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Stuff
That's
that we're
manpower.
stuff that we're offering, because we should be able to eliminate 50, 60% of incoming calls pretty soon, because we still have a lot of, our team is working on a lot of AI stuff, so that if we can eliminate 50, 60, see now we took, like Munish uses the term, what is the term, Munish? Shift?
Lift, shift, and transform. So you lifted and shifted, and now you're just transforming the entire process. See, the biggest advantage I think we have is that since we have our own stores and we have ton of data, you've listened into so many calls, the minute you transfer that to transcripts, and then you can train an AI model on that data, and now you roll out an AI in production, it's already smart enough. It's like hiring a new person going through a training, but this AI model is actually listening into, that model has listened into all those calls that we've taken in the last several years. And they know how the person actually responded, how the customer responded. So they know the best answer to that. So I think the way we are measuring AI is like in the reference that, one, we tested it in different dealers. So there's a dealer store where when we rolled out AI, you don't give a choice to the customer to speak to a human. You just force it to speak to an AI. The other set of dealers, you are giving the choice to the customer. So you have two different variables. And then you are tracking how many times customers, when they call the next time, are actually choosing to talk to AI. What's most interesting is second time, 60% of the callers who call the second time are still preferring AI in certain segments. In certain segments, they hit zero right away to talk to a person.
Right.
So you're identifying the demographics, you're identifying the population that is best suitable for AI. And then where Inder went, that look, when you're listening into a call, if you 100 calls in a day, 99 went really, really well. But the 10th call, the AI is, so we actually are developing a model that's listening into all the live calls. And if it hears keywords like disappointed, unhappy, tone escalates, you
I would never come back.
So this is already, we call it a whisper, that the AI is already whispering into the calls. And that's the time you flag the supervisor. Now imagine a really upset customer, and suddenly he hears, hey, my name is Munish, by the way, I'm the store manager, and I've been listening to the call. Let me handle it from here. So John, you can actually step away. I'll take care of this guest from here onwards. So just to say, imagine that experience instantly that you provide to that guest.
Yeah, well, so in kind of going back to the original question and thinking about different choices that you're making that, kind of reflect your progress. Yeah. I really like what you're saying, and I can see your formula, and I can see how these things can actually transform an entire legacy thinking business model and leadership too. And so it really poses the question, how do you keep leaders dialed into being forward thinkers like this? Because what you're saying is, look, I go back to the dealership and I show them the data. They have a lot of data points. They got a lot of, reports and everything. But are we using that to make the right decision on who's doing what. And it's really AI versus the human at this point. Who should be doing what? And how are we integrating the two so that we have a high performing organization? Well, not every business leader out there is an AI fan. And not every service, that's where all of our business is, not every service director is an AI fan. Now, what happens is they start to dabble in things like this. And then it doesn't work. And this is why I like your backup plan right now, because AI is still in its infancy in my experience with voice AI. And I've been knee deep in it for 3 years. I can tell you, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. And when the dealerships experience a product that they're paying for and they think that it's supposed to be perfect because they don't understand the landscape, then they abandon and we don't have any progress. Then it leaves a bad taste in our leadership's minds that AI doesn't work and therefore they block it. And then it doesn't become an option for decision making. There is no door A and B. There's only one door. And that is what's going to set us back, as we enter this new phase in the next year of leveraging AI into business.
Jennifer, we have a couple of clients don't want to have anything to do with AI, which is fine, right? But here's the issue. AI is amazing tool, but it has to be hybrid. I had an internet problem at my house, and I was trying to get hold of Xfinity. Oh my God, like 4 days.
Already sounds
4
horrible.
days. Then I just walked into the store. I said, I can't get hold of. I just need somebody to come to my house, right? Yeah. So, I can see that the AI is not perfect. Like you can ask AI wouldn't know which recall does your car has. AI wouldn't know you can download on air that you don't have to come to the dealership. AI won't check the parts department if you have it. So those are like good examples for the AI, right? That's why if you have a simple stuff, it's good, but it really needs to be hybrid.
I like the hybrid thinking. I'm taking that away in my own personal life because I really like this. I like this option. I think it's very relevant for today. And I got to ask you guys because I'm sure that more Inder than you, Munish. Surely you run across leadership that actually is just like that customer that's like, no, I ain't doing it, and that for me, I just had this conversation with somebody earlier today, that wants to fight the AI. And I say, you have to embrace it. I don't care how, what are you thinking? This is the future, and the longer it takes you to adopt and understand and get involved, the longer it's going to take you to get to where you want to be. And it's going to recess your growth. And if you don't lock in and actually start to figure out how it works, why it's messing up, because soon that 60% will be 80%, will be 100%. And if our leadership doesn't know how this evolves, and isn't dialed into it. For example, if you have AI doing some of your incoming calls and you're not listening to those recorded calls, how would you know it's working or it's not working? Yeah. And so they think they buy a product, pop it in, and it's just going to work. Well, half the time you're compromising your loyal customers because they're so fed up with the process, and then they click for yes, I want to talk to an operator, and there's nobody answering the phones. You've corrected all of these major holes as we start to leverage AI into the business model, in my opinion. But how do you get your managers on board?
Yeah, let me share, in fact, one important product that we are building. So it's the AI audit. So today, for example, when you have all these incoming calls, what's the maximum audit that you can do? 2%, 3%, 5%, random calls, listening into those calls, right? But we have an AI audit tool that listens to 100% of the calls, whether it's by digital workforce or human workforce. And then it's just flagging all the keywords, everything that we were discussing real time. Yeah, so now you have the opportunity to listen to 100% of those calls where the customer wasn't happy. And now you have the ability to call back the customer and course correct it.
So let's pause right there. Let's go back to my question. How do you get your leadership on board with this? Because see, that right there is a moment that defines how we continue to stay efficient in our businesses. So if that service director is not listening or reading that report that's flagging their AI call's success or not, how will they know how to work with that vendor to get it corrected? Like, and then when they see it's not working, I always say to them, you must get involved. It's not 100%. Just understand that, but if you have to stay committed. You can't abandon every product because it's not performing the way that you want it to perform. It's AI. This is a different world now. And once you're dialed into it and you're listening to these calls, these are my high performers here. There's not many of them out there, service directors, that are going to listen to that AI report and listen to those AI calls and say one way or another and get involved and take action and call that customer back if it didn't work the way it was supposed to work, or continue to work on that product with the vendor to get it right. They just, it's how can you grow our leadership's mindset to be here? And Inder, maybe you can tell me, how do you get your team? See, you're so dialed in. I love this. I love this about you. You're always one step ahead of everybody. But how do you get your GMs, your partners that are the front facing of your brand, of your reputation, to be this connected to AI in this regard that we're talking about here? How many of them are listening to these calls? How many of them are involved in this and are watching this product develop?
So some are very much involved. For example, like the store that I'm sitting at, Michael, he goes, I want to have nothing to do with AI. Okay, which is fine.
No, that makes me angry.
Because we have to treat individual people with this, right? Then there was one point we have everything on AI, like all the incoming calls, right? And then that there's a big issues with that. Now when we sit there and if I just you send them the script to look at it, this is what's going to happen. Everybody's so open to this thing. It's crazy.
But how'd you get there?
We got by showing them the results. We should when we had AI answering the calls, the 30-40% were getting dropped, right? Then we went to manual. Our abandon rate out of 700 service calls a day was 3 or 4, right? Now the store that we were hybrid on, right? Because we're doing tests at the different stores. The calls, their outgoing calls are better because those agents have time to call the 5-month service, the recall customers, right? So when they see the results, when they see the gross profits going up, when there's one store that we put on this just manual, actually it was not on AI but on the regular one. Their gross profit is up by 30%. Their net profit and services up by 25%. And all my managers see that. When they see that, then they're fighting for it. They say, I want this right now. And if you really have to sell it to them, you can't force them. They have to buy into it. If they don't buy into it, it's not going to work. Listen.
No, but somebody has to show them and give them the expectation. Somebody has to show them the way.
Well,
a lot of people don't just figure that stuff out because it's still new.
Our problem is, here's a good thing and a bad thing. We record every call. We report all the reports, how many calls came in, how many calls were missed, where the issues are at. We bring the problems that are under surface that never been addressed. We bring them to the surface, right? There's some accounting stuff that we can have discussions later some other time, but I think this is more interesting today. So when we bring them to the surface, then they realize we got this problem, we got that problem, it's this person's problem. And then we said, okay, look, have you ever listened to your calls before?
Right.
Really, you listen to 95% of our 95, we can answer 95% of the calls correctly, whether it's AI, whether it's, if AI calls start to go sideways, there's an operator, call goes to the operator, right? So that's where we cache that. And when you really have to show them, your appointments are up, you have more appointments. The other thing is like on our big store with Mo, you should ask Mo this question. So as soon as we turn this on, phones stop to ring in service. Right? Customers are still coming in. Service writers have more time to upsell. They're like, there's no
customers. Yeah.
What you really should do, you should take all my general managers sometime and do this podcast. Ask them. Now, some of them are like, really? Philippines? People are going to be answering calls here. Look, I'm going to be honest. The accents are better in Philippines than we have some people at the store, right? Okay.
Listen, when people say offshore call center, it's a hard no for me.
Yes.
And it all is because of the accents. And I deal with a lot of people in the East Coast, and I can tell you, as soon as they know you're not East Coast, no, you're a call center. So, but here, and if you try to use a Southern call center for the East Coast, it just, there's been a lot. I've gone through this for a decade, but I have to tell you something. This is one of the exciting parts about working with your call center. They speak better English than you. Both of you.
That's why we hired them.
They speak better English than me. I mean,
That's why
geez,
we hired them, right?
I mean,
Yes.
I feel like I'm in America, and you guys have nailed this. It's a definite. You've definitely changed my thinking.
So question comes, we can ask Munish this question. Why Philippines? You should ask him that question. He'll answer that for you. You should ask him that question. Munish, tell us why Philippines. Please tell us.
Yeah. So Jennifer, I lived in Philippines for 12 years. I'm obviously originally from India. I did a lot of operations there, worked there for several years. Then we moved to Philippines and spent 12 years there. Then I moved to US in 2017. And when I met with Inder, he had actually outsourced some of his BDC operations to India. And I'm saying this the right
Very
way.
painful.
I don't want to offend anybody here, but I said, look, you're doing two things wrong. I said, one, you're outsourcing it. I said, you cannot outsource this operations. You have to do it yourself. Otherwise, nobody will get it right. And secondly, I said, accounting is fine, the warranty is fine, but call centers, you should not outsource to India. I think that there's a better geography, and I said, we should outsource to Philippines. And he said, where is that? I said, look, I'm not going to try to sell you. Why don't you come with me to Philippines? So we actually went to Philippines. He was, I think, sold in the first 4 hours, I think, after our
Wow.
we went there. So
Is that because everybody speaks such crisp English?
I think it was a U.S. colony for like 50 years.
Right.
So so you could easily mistake it for like 51st state, maybe 52nd, I guess. So you could easily mistake it for that, right? And everybody is just so nice, so warm. I'll tell you, we were listening into a call maybe 3 months ago, and this lady must be in her 80s, and she called, she wanted to reschedule because she had a doctor's visit. We had a call recorded, we shared it with our client as well. And the agent who handled the call, the minute she said, I have a doctor's visit, he forgot about the appointment. He said, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Is everything all right? And he just wanted to make sure she was fine. That lady started crying. She said, nobody has spoken to me in this manner for a long time. She said, I'm not used to people talking to me so nicely, so warmly.
That's actually kind of sad, but so true.
Yes, but that agent didn't care about the call handle time. He didn't care about
The better American.
call. He just wanted to ensure that this customer is taken care of. Now, that's in their culture. So the right talent with the right training, with the right technology, I think that's a very powerful.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for that insight, because I think a lot of people get very turned off when they hear things like AI, when they hear like offshore, things like this can impede on the progression of organizations. And listen, I love dealerships, and I want to see these guys thrive, and I want to stay in business, and we have to challenge our old thinking. And I love what you're saying today. Thank you guys so much for sharing these
one
insights.
last thing that I'll share with you. Look, like you asked, how do you get everybody on board? How do you
Yes.
lead? So I think what Inder did is, I think one unique advantage that Pinnacle has is this 17 stores that Inder owns. So he didn't really initially force everybody, right? You could handpick few stores, and then you start showing the data, you start showing the progress, you start showing the performance. And the minute you see that gradually stores that are on this Pinnacle solution are outperforming the remaining stores, so you tell the remaining stores, you got to match up, buddy. You got to start improving. Now, you can improve on your own if you have a better solution. Otherwise, you better subscribe to this solution. So it's the data that speaks. It's the performance, it's the core metrics that you look at. So I think that approach of handpicking a few stores, implementing them, testing them, showing the results, and then asking the question, everybody else, what are you doing? So slowly, everybody started jumping. And the minute you have several stores that are outperforming consistently because of this solution, that starts to prove a point.
That's an excellent approach. I think a lot of times when you have a big group when an owner in particular sees a tech that he really likes or she really likes, they want to unleash that beast to the whole squad. And that's can be problematic. First, it's too much, too fast. Start with a few people, get the adoption, get the success, get the consistency, and allow everybody else to come to you and say, hey, I'm interested. And that moment right there is when you really get a chance to succeed with a product. It wasn't thrown on their lap. They wanted it. They asked about it. And then they understood it better. Now you're dialed into the reporting. Now you're interested in the outcomes. Now you're embracing. I really appreciate that, especially as a close to today's episode, because it's very real. A lot of times people want to just take something on and spread it out to everybody. And it's like, this is how you do it.
No, and I'll tell you, in all honesty, I work with several professional companies. I told you, Inder is a great salesman, but I think the difference is that some people have short vision, some have a very long-term vision. And to have a long-term vision, you not only have to have experience and maturity, you have to have the patience, you have to have the belief, and you have to trust in what you're building. Great. I think that means a lot. And that is a significant factor to building any company. And that's why I really love working with Inder, and I'm so glad for this opportunity that I have working with him together. I think, in 3 months' time, if we talk again, you'll be amazed with the progress. We are running very, very fast.
I can tell. Well, I and sharing so candidly how you guys are doing things and how you bring the synergy together as a partnership. And not only that, but for how you build your team members and your partners, they're all partners, and success and integrating new technology. It's just so relevant. This was more than I thought it was going to be. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. Don't forget, my weekly live classes are designed to keep your team fired up, skilled up, and focused on results. Subscribe right now at edealersolutions.com. See ya!